Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe, the show. I am your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr., Clarksville native, just telling the great stories of the people who are in Clarksville who are making this place the best place to live in America. You have reached part 2 of our episode with my dear friend, Shedrich Webster, Coach Shed. Shed, in part 1, we talked about a lot of cool things. We talked about his program that is blessing the community in so many unique ways with Black Santa. We talked about Taste of Clarksville, Friday with the Trucks, him as the PA announcer for the Northeast High School Eagle football and basketball. Just, he's got his hands in all kinds of things, a man of influence. And his motto, if I had to give him one, is I want to see you win. And it is a genuine spirit to want to see people win. This episode is also going to be packed with so much great stuff. I told you last time, he is the first person that I've dedicated 2 episodes to because he is just the epitome of when I say that people are making Clarksville the best place to live in America. He is one of them because there's no one that's more genuine, more humble, that just wants to see everybody win. And he's involved in so much stuff that we got to give you 2 parts to his story. So Shed, thanks for part 2.
Hey, man,
we didn't actually move. We just divided this up, right?
That's cool. I love it.
Same shirt, same position. Here it goes. Here we are, part 2.
I love it.
Let's go. So I mentioned what we talked about in part 1, and I think that is fun. I told you we kind of divided it. This is the fun stuff. Part 2, I think, is the powerful and the impactful side of Shed.
We hope.
And what I've noticed from you, and part of your genuine humility, is this desire to see our local political process the people of Clarksville have more access to it.
Absolutely.
And what I've seen from you in that is hosting debates. I've seen you leading a voter turnout rally to get people there to meet at a place, walk down Madison Street down there and go all vote together. I remember that. You have been a leader in the local conversations on some heavy issues that our culture has been facing in the social media age for the last 5 to 10 years, dating back to some really tragic events that have occurred. But you have been a connector of people. You have been outspoken. You have been gracious and willing to hear other people's opinions.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why you provide such unique value to this conversation. So I'm happy to kind of dig in with it. I don't know if we're going to get through everything or not, but I'm going to do my best
we can try
to pull it all out of you. So let's talk about the local election process first. So I noticed a few years ago, here comes Shed, kind of out of nowhere. I knew you as this youth basketball proponent. You got your hands in lots of things. And then all of a sudden now you're starting to communicate this message that has been very consistent, that the people have a role in local elections as much as they do national elections.
Yeah.
And that the people generally, our voter turnout for local elections is pretty poor. And you feel like we have a responsibility, regardless of who you will vote for, to be engaged in the process. Was there a trigger that maybe sparked your interest to try to bring awareness to that specifically for the local election process?
I was thinking about that. When you asked me to be on the show, I've been thinking about, lots of different things. What you see here now has been going on with me for a long time.
Yeah.
I was president of Black United Students in high school.
Okay.
So that was back in 94, 95, right? In college at Tennessee State University, I was in a play about the Black Panther Party. Back in the early 2000s, the NAACP here locally invited me to host a political debate. They didn't invite me back. And I've got I don't have my suspicions why. I know exactly why. They didn't invite me back. I'm not affiliated with NAACP or any other groups because I have my own stance. Yeah. I don't need anyone else to develop a stance for me, and you don't either, right? No one needs someone to develop their stance. You've got your own opinions, and that gets overlooked. I've been a voter in Clarksville, Montgomery County since 1995. Been registered. I've had one politician come knock on my door to ask me for their vote. That didn't happen until 2000. Wow. And it was only after I'd said that publicly. John Dawson heard that, and so he came and knocked on my door. I wasn't at home at the time, but he came and knocked on my door to ask me for my vote because he heard me say that. Sure. I appreciate that from him. I respect him for that. But no one else has. And honestly, at this point, Kevin, there are local politicians who run from me. They see me coming, they go the opposite direction. They refuse to take my phone calls. They don't answer my emails. And when I say local, I'm talking about from the dog catcher to the governor. There are people who refuse to have a conversation with me.
And I think it's, from the outside looking in, there's a part of it that's understandable because most people who try to engage the political process do have a secret hidden agenda somewhere that they're wanting to manipulate and pull some strings to benefit themselves along the way, or, tear down this. And that's the sad reality of politics, is that what could come across as a genuine effort could, I'm sure in their experience, be turned into political manipulation that then is used as a weapon. And I know that's not where you're coming from.
I've got one vote.
Yeah.
Kevin, you've got one vote.
Mm-hmm.
Each of us as individuals have one vote. And the only thing you can get out of me is one vote.
Yeah.
But you've got to at least ask for that vote. If you refuse to have a conversation with me, you're not even asking for that vote. And if they'll treat me that way, how are they treating other people? Some people say that the way you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And so if I see someone ignoring me, which means they want to ignore me for whatever reason. So anyone that's like me or anyone that you perceived as like me, you ignore. Not necessarily a black man, but you ignore anyone who may have a question. If you ignore people who maybe disagree with you, that's not okay if you want to be in public service.
Sure.
Because that's what you're running for.
Yeah.
Whether you're the dog catcher or the governor, you're in public service.
Yeah.
I've got a friend that's he's a superintendent of a school district in Alabama.
Okay.
He's the superintendent of a school district where he used to be a custodian. And what I say about him is that you're still the custodian, because a custodian is a caretaker.
Yes.
And so whether you caretaking a wing of a school or a section of a floor, or you're caretaking the entire education process for an entire city, you're still a custodian. And I see it the same way as a public servant.
Yeah.
Whether you're on the city council or county clerk, a mayor or governor, you're still a public servant.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you have to serve me in a subservient way, but that means that what you should do should be in my best interest as a member of the public. Not my individual best interest, but the best interest of all of us in the public.
Of all of the constituents that you represent.
So I don't necessarily have to like everything that you do.
Sure.
But is this in our best interest?
Yeah.
I don't like that we spent money on an event center in downtown Clarksville. I don't like the way that all the inner workings and how that went down, but it's here now.
Yeah.
So how can we use that to serve everyone?
And you said in part one, you want to see it be successful.
I definitely want to see that be successful.
Yeah.
I want to see that be successful for all of us.
Sure. And it's hard to have that kind of mature mindset when you're looking at local issues.
Absolutely.
Of, hey, this didn't go the way that I would have maybe preferred it to go.
Absolutely.
There's some things that, I personally wish we would get, and, cost is the cost, but hey, our city needs it. Let's push it. And, for whatever reason, the local elected officials are, they're doing
That's
more
the
research, but it's part of it, and
So-
there's probably some things that are, being approved and designed and planned that I'd say, oh, I don't necessarily see the value in it, but I understand the dignity and the worth that these people have by means of their elected office.
Let me be fair,
And if
though.
they collectively decide on this, then I want to see it be successful.
But let me be fair, since I mentioned that about something that the county did, the city.
Yeah.
I don't like the decision that was made about funding the Roxy and the way that deal went down. But it's here now.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do programming, let's do programming that benefits everyone. Yeah. And I want to see the Roxy do well.
Yeah, we want to see it win.
Yeah, absolutely. At the state level, it seems as if we're going to get a juvenile resource center or detention center. If it's going to be here, let's make sure that there's enough resources for correction.
Yeah.
And that there's not enough beds to fill.
Yeah.
But that the resources are available here. That's tough, man.
It's tough. These are complicated issues. And
it can be figured out.
It can be figured out, yeah. And what I really appreciate about your involvement and your kind of step to at least talk about the issues is, ultimately when you're bringing conversations to light, it's not about influence. It's about allowing people to be involved in the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've asked you before, I feel like national politics gets a lot of attention.
It does.
When there's a national election going on, voter turnout here is significantly higher than when it's just local elections. Do you have a theory why?
Absolutely. It's a systemic issue.
Yeah.
I think it's by design. This isn't going to be popular, but I'm going to say it. I don't care, right? That's exactly why I'm not attached to any organizations, because you can't put this back on any organization. You put this on me, right? We just had a primary election in April. Or May? I think it was April.
Yeah, 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, 13% of us, May.
Yeah.
It was in May. 13% of us showed up for that primary election.
Yeah.
No, 11% of us showed up for that primary election. What was the purpose of that primary election? If the Republicans and Democrats want to figure out who should run, let them figure that out on their own time, on their own dime, in their own rooms, right? But when you do that, it complicates it. And so it makes the process complicated, and people get disenfranchised.
Sure.
We have people that are running for judge, but when you get to the ballot box, it doesn't say judge. Have people that are running for state senator or state representative. You get to the ballot box and it says state committee man or state committee woman. But that's not on any of their campaign signs. Why do we make this process nebulous? Why not make the process as seamless and as simple as possible? We muddy the waters and we make the process more difficult to eliminate some people from the process. Let's not do that. And then we have people that are running campaigns that put up an entire website. And on the website, I know where to donate. I get part of their platform, but I have no idea when their next campaign rally is. Unless I've got some association with the Ruby Cora, or I got access to the other place that they go. If I'm in the Rotary Club, in the Kiwanis, if I'm a part of the chamber, then I know about these things. But if I'm not a part of those things because I'm working 2 jobs and I run a food truck and I got 3 kids and we got to go to all the ball games, then I can't get access to that.
Yeah.
11 to 13% of the people vote. I wonder if that's consistent with the number of people who give to these campaigns.
It could be.
Probably so.
It could be. I think it's also a part of, that there's probably a very high percentage of those 11 to 13% that are so civic duty minded that they're going to vote regardless of whatever it is, whenever they value their right to vote in such a high-felt way that if given the opportunity, I'm going to show up and vote, whether I know who the candidates are, have access to them or not, but I recognize the value that the right to vote is for myself, and I'm going to participate.
We call those people super voters.
Okay.
They will vote no matter whether you're voting for president or Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah.
I love those people.
Sure.
Those people are great.
Yeah.
But for the regular folks, we need to be more engaged in the process.
Sure.
And so my efforts are about engaging us in the process, but also engaging the candidates to come and talk to us.
Sure. Yeah.
There should never be a time, unless you feel threatened, that a candidate shouldn't stop to have a conversation with a voter.
Yeah. It's hard, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, giving people access to what's important to you, what are your priorities, ultimately, like you said, a custodian of the well-being of our community.
Absolutely.
That's what public service is all about.
Absolutely.
And I do believe that, the people who are running for elected office and who are serving in these roles, I do believe that they have the benefit of our community in mind. I want to believe the best about people. And I also understand that there's probably a very real fear that the more you open your mouth, the more negativity that can shoot back at you. But I do love what you're trying to do in terms of giving the people who may not have access to the live rallies and events because of their certain situation in life, circumstances, their work schedule, their kids' ball schedule, or whatever it is. Like, we can't go to these things. So how do we have access to hear from the candidates to make a well-informed decision for how we want our local community to be governed?
Or they feel left out of the situation.
Sure.
On purpose, there's not access. I don't believe I've heard of any rallies being held downtown. I see a lot of campaign fundraising, things like that on the outskirts. But I rarely see those things happening in the downtown area with access to regular people. Yeah. Right. I would love to see more of that. But in the meantime, there's ways for us to access. We all have access to our cell phones for the most part, right? We have access to a computer. We have access to a lot of different things. And so why not open up these things as much as possible to as many people as possible by holding forums, debates, interviews, and that's what I do. Yeah. I've interviewed some candidates, and I give kudos to every candidate who's been willing to sit down and talk with me in some odd places. I've interviewed candidates on the steps of a house at Lincoln Homes, at the little community center there, at the Emmanuel Family Life Center. Had a conversation with a candidate at a barbershop, had a conversation with a candidate in a beauty salon, had a conversation with candidates and some very unique places at a coffee shop, right? So those things can happen, right? And I think all of us can engage candidates in that way, but some of us just don't have the time, or we fear that we'll be rejected in approaching them. I just want to make sure that we hear honestly from candidates. I've had candidates that I've interviewed. I did not like what they had to say, but I respect the fact they sat down and interviewed with me so that people know where they stand.
And you're still providing that information to people.
Absolutely.
To use their one vote that they have.
You get one vote.
Yeah. And so I think that's what I, appreciate about your efforts is, behind the scenes, behind all of the vitriol and drama that sometimes politics has, that's not your motivation.
Not
your
at all.
Motivation is to help voters make informed decisions. You're a regular guy. You don't represent a party. You don't represent a pack behind the scenes.
There's no
trying
pack
to influence necessarily. Like, it's just me caring about our community, caring about providing information to voters who may not have otherwise had the access to be able to hear from a candidate in a certain political race or whatever. On this show, we've not had any political candidates be able, we've not really offered that. And part of that's by intention because you can't really give everyone access to that. But I appreciate what you're doing. I see the value in it. And politics is one of those things where I wish that we just extended more grace all the way around. And instead of assuming that you've got some deeply dark motivation in doing this, give you the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, he's just trying to inform people and get people involved. And if we can tick those numbers up a few % out of every election, then you're doing something that's really powerful.
There's a huge opportunity. Yeah. About 75 to 80% of us that are registered to vote won't vote. I see a lot of people out here trying to do voter registration drives. Here's some numbers. There are 227,000 people in our county.
Okay.
160,000 of us are of voting age.
Okay.
Guess how many are registered to vote?
Out of 160, I don't even want to guess. I'd say 110.
136,000.
Okay.
That's a really solid number.
Not bad.
Think about, of those 30,000, there's a few felons in there. There's a few adults with incapacities or disabilities that won't allow them to. There's a few adults that maybe they're off the rolls because they've aged out of being able to go in and register and things like that. That's just not something that they can do at their mental capacity right now in their lives, right? And if I offended anybody by anything I just said, I definitely apologize. I'm trying to work through my words the best as I can. But so there's only about 30,000 people left to register to vote, even if everyone is eligible and nothing else eliminates them, right? But of 136,000, if less than 20,000 vote, there's a bigger gap between the number of people that are registered and don't vote than there is between the number of people that are eligible and aren't registered.
That opportunity's there.
There should be a lot more people out here. There should be a lot more organizations. There should be a lot more groups pushing to get the vote out, not registering voters. We're done with that. We've done a very, very good job in our community of registering voters. Now let's help people get to the vote, get to the ballot. And let's figure out why they're not voting. When I'm talking to people, they don't vote because the process, again, is nebulous. It's too confusing. Yeah. They don't understand.
Is this a primary or the general? What are we voting for?
Yeah. Their friend is running for office as an independent, and they go to vote and they don't see their friend's name on there in May. But they don't know they need to vote for their friend in November. And so they don't show up at all in August. In November, they're out. They checked out, right? Yeah. We believe that the numbers will rise for this November because it's a city mayor election. But less than 20,000 of us, literally less than 20,000 of us, had a hand in the decision about who would be our county mayor.
Okay.
Less than 20,000 of us had a hand in the decision about who will be our district attorney. Less than 20,000 of us had a hand in the decision about who would be our judges. Less than 20,000 of us had a hand in the decision who would be our court clerks and the public defender. So that's our entire justice system. We left that in the hands of less than 20,000 of us.
Yeah.
If you go to work tomorrow and there's 13 of you in the office and 2 of you decide what everybody's going to eat in the potluck, you won't be happy. You'll end up with potato salad with raisins.
Right, yeah. With raisins.
And shepherd's pie.
Yeah, who brought this?
Right?
Bought it or brought it. Don't bring it. Yeah.
Exactly. So shepherd's pie, potato salad with raisins in it, right?
Yeah.
If that's not what you want, then you need to bring what you want to the table.
Yeah. Yeah. Involve yourself in the process. Well, I know that you're passionate about it.
I
know that you are not uninformed, and I think this is what's hard for people to understand sometimes, but I've talked to you enough about it to know that you have your opinions. They're well informed, but I think at the end of the day, what you want to see is people be involved in the process and exercise their own right that they've been granted at some point to be able to be involved in making that decision.
And that's why I hold my opinion back.
Yeah, sure.
And I take a lot of flack for that.
Yeah.
I get a lot of people.
Right.
I had someone reaching out to me yesterday that says, you need to give your opinion on this particular race.
Yeah.
Your opinion as a black man is important. And what I say is every individual black man's opinion is important. Every individual white man's opinion is important. Mm-hmm. Every individual black woman, her opinion is important. And every individual white woman, her opinion is important.
Anyone who's enrolled.
And we need to make sure that everyone's informed so they can make their own. I'm not any smarter than anybody else. Now, I will say this about something in particular. If a candidate already holds an office and they decide to run for more office, another seat, and so they're saying that they're smarter than everyone else in their community. There's no one else in their community that is worthy to hold another office. Hold a city council, a county commission, school board, and county commission, a school board, and a city council. You're the only smart person that lives in your area. You're the only smart person that lives in your neighborhood. You're the only smart person that lives in your house. There's not another adult in your house that can run for this office. I'm not the only smart person in Clarksville.
No, I know I'm not.
Yeah, I want to make sure that every candidate speaks to Kevin Kennedy so Kevin Kennedy can make a best informed decision for him.
Yeah, yeah. Providing dignity to voters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate
That's
that.
all we're trying to do.
Well, we're going to transition just a little bit, and I feel like you've got some great knowledge to share with us, even just about your own personal health journey.
Okay.
I know that has, something that you experienced something totally unexpected almost a year ago at this point. And, the type of person that you are, being an overcomer, being a person who creates opportunities and sets your mind to something and then executes them. To be where you are now, climbing up the stairs to get up to where we are now, knowing back where you were several months ago. Tell us a little bit about that. And I feel like there's going to be people who have either had a family member experience something similar or who it's going to affect them at some point, and no one ever expects to have it.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
One more thing about politics real quick. So I got to get a little plug in.
You got it.
We just announced yesterday that we're going to host a debate for Ward 6 City Council.
Okay.
That's going to be on September 22nd at 5:30 p.m. at the public library, so everybody has access. Yeah. Center of town, easy to get to, plenty of parking. You don't have to pay to get in. Just pop in. If you cannot come at 5:30 on September 22nd, you can watch it on my Facebook Live at that time. Yeah. If you've got questions, you can post your questions in the live chat. We'll get as many of those answered as possible. If you show up in person, we'll definitely make sure the candidates will answer your questions. Yeah. That's a condition. If they're going to interview or debate with me, they've got to be open to answering questions from the public. Yeah. If you watch the replay, and you don't have to be my Facebook friend. Right. You don't even have to be my friend in real life. You don't even have to like me.
Yeah.
You can hate my guts.
Just watch it.
You can still watch the video.
Yeah.
If that's some information that you want. If you live in Ward 6, that's downtown, Summit Heights, Lincoln Homes, Old Madison Street, like Glenwood Avenue. Porter's Bluff is now in there. Dog Hill, Riverside Drive. If you own a business in that area, if you're interested in that area at all, Austin Peay, then definitely watch.
Yeah, that's cool. I appreciate you saying that.
So, I'm sorry. My personal health journey.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been heavy for a long time, right? Like most black men, we don't go to the doctor. We don't trust doctors. It's been something that's been taught to us systemically over years, things that have been passed down in our family. And so I didn't go to the doctor, right? Had a stroke. Diabetes and high blood pressure unchecked for years. Woke up one morning, going about my day doing things I normally do. My left hand started to tingle, felt like it was sleep. Thought it would just dissipate and go away. Again, did things I normally do. About 8 o'clock, I got a little concerned about it, no big deal. About 11 o'clock, it felt like it was creeping all the way up my arm. And my concern was, if it's tingling in my left hand and it's creeping up my arm, at some point it's going to get to my heart. And so I had my son drive me to the emergency room. They immediately took me and did CAT scans, things like that. They had to do a heart catheterization that day, which was a scary thing. Ended up being hospitalized for 4 days, almost died, man. So I had a stroke. That was September 17th of last year. October, I was still using a wheelchair. Remember going to church in a wheelchair. Was too big for the wheelchair. Yeah. So I had to squeeze in, squeeze out. My boy Terry Boy can help me get out the wheelchair so I can get in the car to go home. As late as December, as a matter of fact, December 15th, I remember the day because it was significant in our lives. I had a doctor's appointment. My pop had to go to the emergency room because he was dealing with COVID. That was the last day he was anywhere other than the hospital. He died in the hospital on December 30th. But, man. So on December 15th, I had a doctor's appointment. I had to use a walker at the doctor's appointment on December 15th. As late as February and March, I was still using a motorized cart at the grocery store because it was too painful. It was too difficult for me to walk on that concrete at the grocery store. We're in a much better position now. I had to change completely the way that I eat, had to change completely my fitness level. And we're doing it. At my biggest weight, I was over 320, over 330. I'm now down about 250 or so. Wow. We're going to get to below 240 by Christmas. Cardio boxing is a really big thing for me. That's something I do all the time. So even though I can't punch a politician, I can punch a bag, right? I can't punch a campaign manager who won't return my phone calls. If you're the campaign manager that won't return my phone calls, I don't really want to punch you, so don't take that as a threat. You've got no threat from me.
It just flows with the episode.
Yeah, but I am going to punch my bag, right? Yeah. And when I punch my bag, I may be thinking about you or your politician that won't respond to me, that won't have a conversation with me, that won't give the information that the voters need, right? Yeah. So, but I punch a bag. I do that several rounds a day to work that off. I eat completely different. Do fruits and vegetables. I'm not vegan. I'm not vegetarian. I do eat some meats, but the meat has to have a condition for me to eat it. And I've got my own conditions. Sure. And so I don't want to give all that information because I'm not a doctor. Right. I don't want anybody taking my advice. Right. Consult with your physician. Consult with a nutritionist. Find you a therapist a physical therapist that can help you with things you do. But and everything I'm doing is under advisement of a doctor. I got a physical therapist that I can reach out to for help with that. But that's what's going on with my health right now. So.
And I know, I've seen some of your videos, you know, kickboxing in the backyard, a
little bit,
doing what you can. You told me that you're, coming up on this new challenge that you came up with, 45 rounds and in one day, 3 minutes at a time, for your 45th birthday. Is that correct?
So September 17th. Or you're
45 now.
I'm 45 years old.
Okay.
September 17th is the anniversary of my stroke, right?
Okay.
On that day, I intend to try to get 45 rounds in. I do typically 8 to 10 rounds in a day.
Yep.
All at one time. I can knock that out in less than an hour, 8 to 10 rounds. I do 3-minute rounds with a minute rest between each round. That's my workout, right? But on the September 17th, that's a Saturday.
Yeah.
Just happens to be a Saturday. I don't have anything on my schedule until that evening. I'm actually calling a game that evening for the Clarksville Phoenix, a semi-pro basketball team.
Yeah.
I'm their announcer. It's our first preseason home opener, and so I'll be out there for that. But prior to that, I'm gonna get up early. I'm gonna try to knock out 45 rounds in a day.
Well, what I love it is, it's personal challenges, you know, systemic challenges, whatever it is. Nothing's too small, too big. Like, let's just take it on. Let's create a challenge and go for it. You teased this in part 1. I'm going to give you a softball toss here.
Okay.
But you told us a little bit about how influential your relationship with your physician has been.
Okay.
So go ahead and tell us who he is. Tell us, why that's been special to you.
So Dr. Carlo Pike at Elite Primary Care. Again, as a Black man, we have a fear of the medical profession. We all know about the Tuskegee experiment. We know about other things that have happened in our Black community as far as the medical community and the relationship there. And so to have a Black physician, early to mid 50s, here locally that I can go to. And for me, it's important. He's a Christian. Mm-hmm. I won't mention the name of the cardiologist that did my heart surgery when I had this stroke. But when I went back to visit him as a follow-up, one of the things he said to me is, these medications I give you, don't let anybody touch them. Don't let anybody tell you anything different about, these are the medications I gave you. I prescribe these medications. You take these. Yeah. Don't let anybody touch it. Dr. Pike said, we're going to work through this. We're going to figure out what works for you. But then here's the other thing he did. He said, let's stop and pray. And he asked God for guidance on what medications to give me. Mm. That was so important to me. That was critical for me. I don't see the cardiologist anymore. I'm doing much, much better than I was. Dr. Pike has cycled me off of some of the medications that the cardiologist put me on. Not to spite the cardiologist, but because of my condition has improved. Yeah. We worked through some things. And he's evaluating what works for me and what doesn't work for me and my body. Mm-hmm. Right? He's got a genuine heart and a spirit that he's just a conduit. He's just a tool in the master's hand. And that's important to me, that I've got a physician like that working with me. And so if you're looking for a physician that looks like you and you look like me, Dr. Carlo Pike. Yeah. If you're looking for a physician who thinks like you and you think like me, being a Christian, Dr. Carlo Pike, Elite Primary Care. And this is not
an ad.
This is not an ad.
We're not getting paid for this at all, for the record. But I think it's just it is a opportunity for us to highlight.
Absolutely.
In any industry, we have really special people here. He happens to be one. He's had such a critical role, and it's someone that you've embraced and has really changed your life. And I think absolutely. We need to give opportunity for you to share that story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're sharing it. We're going to go to the lightning round, which I didn't tell you about this.
Okay, cool.
But these are just random questions, right? So
I do this too. That's okay.
You do it?
Yeah, I do this too in my interviews.
Here we go. All right. So the 22 to, let's say, 27-year-old in Clarksville, mm-hmm. Kind of that, I'm done with college. I'm trying to figure out where my life is going to go. What would be your advice for them? Any type of advice.
Get a mentor.
Okay. Love it.
If you're 22 to 27, get you a mentor that's in their mid-30s. Get you a mentor that's in their mid-40s. Get you a mentor that's in their mid-50s. And get you a mentor that's in their mid-70s.
Love it. That's great advice.
Find your mentor for your spiritual health.
Yeah.
Find your mentor for your physical health. Find your mentor for your career. And find you marriage mentors.
Yeah. It's great advice. You really have no ability at that stage to know some of the challenges that you're going to face. And I can tell you, when our family has faced some challenges, we were really fortunate when I was in that stage to have some really great mentors. And it's been really nice to look back and say, okay, I saw them go through this. Mm-hmm. This is how they handled it. This situation is different. It's unique. It's not exactly the same, but I knew that they were losing sleep over a particular situation. Mm-hmm. And this is how they kind of got through it and overcame it. So that's pretty profound, pretty fantastic advice. You're 17 years old, getting ready for homecoming. What are you wearing?
Oh, dude, I wore
the smile just came over your face.
I wore tux and some sneakers, man.
Okay, what kind of sneakers?
Either some ones or some J's. I can't remember.
Okay, gotcha.
But it was like 4 of us, and we all do that.
Okay.
We all did that. One of my boys had on a hat.
Okay.
I had a white scarf with my black and white tux.
Okay.
So that was kind of our style. Yeah.
That was it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. You get a book deal today. What's the title?
I'm doing a cookbook.
A cookbook.
Yeah.
You got a title? Not to be released yet. I guess just plan on getting your recipes from Coach Shed's cookbook.
Inspiration from my ancestors.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, right. my mother, my grandmothers, my father have all passed away. Yeah. My aunt. And that was something that we all had in common.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that actually transitions really well to this last question. So, your answer to the first question was for younger people to get a mentor. Mm-hmm. You just highlighted, this just rich family history and tradition that you have and how it influences you today. We're kind of, you're in your mid 40s. I'm approaching 40, so we're in a similar season of life. But I often look to mentors for certain things. So my question is, what does Clarksville need most from its older generation?
Grace.
We'll take it. I know I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's a profound answer. Yeah.
Grace.
Yeah. We're trying, right?
Yeah.
We're doing our best.
Yeah.
We won't be perfect. We won't say the perfect things.
Yeah. Even though you were perfect.
Yeah.
Even though the Clarksville that you left us was perfect.
Yeah.
And we've messed it up.
Yeah. Give us some grace.
Give us some grace. Yeah, we'll get back.
That's a great answer. Well, hey, thank you for making it to the end of this episode. Find you a mentor, give somebody some grace, take Shed's advice, learn about the process of our local elections, get involved, inform yourself, whether it's through his public forums, his social media channels, or just doing your own due diligence, however it would be. We just want to see Clarksville thrive. We want to see our politicians serve us and be the custodians that he talked about, serving the well-being of all the people who are represented here in our area. We believe this is a great place to live. We believe it's the best place to live in America. We hope you do too. Go ahead back and catch part 1 of Shed's episode. Go catch all the other episodes. Interact with us any way you can online. Leave us a review, a rating, something like that. We'd love to hear some feedback from you. Thanks so much. Catch you next episode.